We're going to be talking about fractions today, and the first thing we need to do is review the parts. The top number is called the numerator, and the bottom part of our fraction is called the denominator. When we have a fraction that is or a number that is not written as a fraction, it's just a whole number, we can make it a fraction by putting the number 1 underneath of it. We're not going to worry about negatives right now. And then on the next page, we'll actually talk about our equivalent fractions. That's just where we're writing a number, or multiplying or dividing by a number to make it an equal fraction. So when we have equivalent fractions and we're making it smaller, that's really reducing, that's the dividing. So if I have the number, or the fraction, 4/12, I can divide both top and bottom by 4. That gives me 1/3. Now if I have a number like 12/36, I can take smaller steps. I can divide both the top and the bottom by 4. That's going to give me 3/9. But then I can see I can do 3 and 9 both divided by 3. So that is going to be 1/3. So that brings us to our adding and subtracting. We can only add and subtract fractions if we have a common denominator. That bottom number has to be the same in order for this to work. So we can write these now. Once you have found a common denominator, you're going to write them as 2 fractions that have the same denominator. Once we're all set up there, what you need to do is you look at your numerators and the sign to find out what you're doing with those numerators, and then you just either add or subtract across. And that whole time, once you've found a common one, the denominator stays the same. Once you've added and subtracted your numerators, carried over your denominator, you have to make sure you can simplify. If you can simplify, you do so. Not all fractions can be simplified. You check for those common factors and divide if you're able. Now you're going to pause the video here so that way you can work on adding and subtracting these 4 fractions that are on the half sheet that you got. They should be in your binder. If you do not have them, make sure you go check with the teacher to get this copy. That was adding and subtracting. This is multiplying. When we multiply, we can multiply when we have any denominator. We just multiply straight across by multiplying the numerator. And then we multiply our denominator. So we multiply across the top. And then we multiply across the bottom. Once we've multiplied straight across, we look and see, do we have a common factor, and simplify if possible. And the last one we're going to review is dividing fractions. We can divide a fraction. We can divide fractions by rewriting them as a multiplication problem. This is where we do the whole keep, change, flip that some of you still remember. The first fraction will stay the same. This is the keep part. Then the division symbol in the middle becomes multiplication, which is the change. Then the last fraction is flipped. And the technical term for that is we take the reciprocal of it. So for those of you who remember the quick strategy, it's keep, change, flip. Once we've reorganized the way it looks, we just go back and follow all the same steps for multiplication. So then we would just go back to those notes and say that we are going to multiply straight across and simplify when possible. You're now going to end the video. You're going to complete these 4 fraction problems on the sheet that you were working on previously with adding and subtracting. If you do not have it from when we added and subtracted yesterday, you need to go see a teacher to make sure that you have one. When you have finished all 8 of these problems, make sure you turn it into the bin or the teacher.